Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today we're drinking nothing.
Well, we're going to be drinking a blend. All right, so this one is, I'm pretty excited about this one because I've seen this one popping up a lot and I've heard a lot about it from liquor store owners locally. Yeah. Starting to see it pop up a little bit on, some bourbon content that I follow.
Hello, Internet.
But this is a blended whiskey by a distillery called Cat's Eye Distillery in Iowa. So here in Minnesota, we see a lot of this on the shelves. I don't know how popular this is on the shelves in other places.
It goes like crazy. Like, buy it when you see it. Doesn't matter if you like it, just buy it.
Right. So I don't know how far they're probably. I don't know if some people are ordering it or whatever, because I know you can order it online. So I don't know if this is a normal shelf product nationwide, but they're all over around Minnesota.
Yeah. So
this one in particular, I'm going to give a lot of information here and try to get it right, because this is a complicated one.
This is unique.
Yeah. So Gene Nassif is the co-founder of this company. He made this blend for his wedding to share with family and friends at his wedding.
Okay.
And it went over so well, they decided to bottle this up
and sell it.
Yeah, and produce it. So what makes this complicated is it's a blend. So first, it's a Burr Rye.
Burr Rye.
Yeah, which is a blend of bourbon and rye.
Okay.
So the first part is a blend of 36% rye bourbon.
That's a high rye bourbon.
Very high rye. That's what I got off the website. It said 36 bourbon or 36 rye bourbon. So I'm assuming that meant percent.
Sure, I would think so.
36% rye bourbon, so already aged, everything, and then a 95% rye distillate. So an unaged rye whiskey.
Okay.
Then they put those two in a new oak barrel. It didn't say if it's charred or not, and aged them together.
Wow.
To create the Burr Rye. Then they took that Burr Rye and they blended it with a 14-year light whiskey. So light whiskey.
Yeah, let's talk about light whiskey.
And this is another one of their products from Cat's Eye. This is light whiskey. So light whiskey is not a light whiskey in the sense that it's
poorly named.
Yeah. It's not a light whiskey in the sense that it's a lighter, easier, lower proof. It's not. Light whiskey basically picks up in distillation proof where bourbon leaves off.
Slackers.
Yeah, right. So bourbon has to be legally under 160 proof, or 160 proof or under. Light whiskey has a minimum of 160 proof. Distillate.
Up.
Yeah. So this one, for example, is a 14-year aged in used charred oak barrels. So here's another interesting thing about this blend. So this particular light whiskey, from what I've read, is extremely high corn.
Okay.
I think in the 90s. So if it wasn't for
proof on this guy,
it's 137 something.
Okay.
So if it wasn't for the distillation proof on this, if you were to proof this or distill it below 160 proof, this would actually qualify as a corn whiskey.
Okay.
Not a bourbon, because it's in used charred oak.
Right.
And so it's almost like it's a light whiskey, but it's basically a high proof corn whiskey blended with a high rye bourbon that was then before that blended with a raw rye distillate and then aged together. So the whole thing is just...
it occurred to me that living in Kentucky is a lot easier. It's just bourbon.
Yeah, right. Bourbon. But these guys are doing awesome stuff.
But if you're up here in Minnesota or Iowa, there's all this corn, and let's try that.
Well, this is actually an MGP.
Oh, is it?
But yeah, it's sourced from MGP.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to set this off to the side here.
Okay.
But these guys are coming out with all kinds of cool different products. So they've got the light whiskeys, and there's a bunch of different batches of those. They're like 300 and some bottles per batch.
Yeah.
They've got a Polish rye. They've got a light whiskey finished in port wine casks, I think.
That would be interesting.
There's a place not too far from here that had a barrel pick rye of theirs.
Oh, wow.
They've got a high proof bourbon. So yeah, they've got all kinds of stuff going on. But this one here,
the blended blends.
Yeah, it's such an odd blend to me that I'm really excited to get into this because I have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, I don't know if we've done a rye whiskey on the channel yet.
No.
And neither one of us actually had that many ryes.
Right. Yeah, so again, this is a rye distillate that was blended and aged with a high rye bourbon and then blended with a light whiskey. And it comes in at 107 proof. So let's get into it here. Oh, that's lovely.
I have some assumptions, but I really don't know. Like, I mean, there's so many things that I'm sure.
Dog's having a party upstairs.
I definitely get the rye note.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, and rye. I'm not a fan of rye for cooking, but rye when it comes to bourbon, it's taken me a while to get used to it. It comes across as this really unique note on the nose.
It's usually pretty bold.
Yeah,
like a higher rye bourbon is a bold
pretty
one.
aggressive on the nose, and even on the tongue, it's pretty spicy.
Oh, that just smells lovely. Wow.
But I feel like it's almost like a green grass kind of note a little bit.
Really? See, I'm not getting that. I get the so the light whiskey. On that one, I remember getting like kind of a honey note. Mm-hmm. And I know honey is a fairly common bourbon note, bourbon note.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't usually get that. For whatever reason, it's just a note I never pick up.
Yep.
And on the light whiskey, I really picked it up. Like a bit o' honey, sort of candied, sweet honey.
Yeah,
and I'm getting that.
I had one of those in 25 years.
Yeah.
27 years.
But I'm getting that with the barrel and the rye, and it's a really, really nice.
I'm going in.
Nice mixture. All right, cheers. Wow.
What a unique blend of flavors.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
It is. It's really good.
It has a lot going on. It's hard to separate out all the different flavors because there's cinnamon, there's
little legs on that. They're like
perfect.
Yeah, they're just perfect lines. I'm kind of noticing the color too. Now in the light whiskey, while it's aged 14 years, it's in used charred oak, so you're not going to get that new char darkness. And it looks fairly dark in the bottle, but in the glass it looks a little lighter than I would have expected.
Yeah, they didn't have an age statement on this one, right?
Well,
hard to say.
Whatever the youngest one would have been.
It's hard to say, yeah.
Man, it's complex. It's almost like every flavor kind of has its own little small turn. The only thing that I would say, and I've only had one sip of it, on that first sip, is the finish died off pretty quick.
True.
I was a little surprised by that for the 107 proof.
Because it has a nice mouthfeel. Like there's some density to it, right? It's not watery. But there's even a honey note, actually.
That's what I was saying. It's like that honey sweetness. It's got the rye. It's got the barrel. This is almost its own brand new kind of whiskey.
Oh, I totally agree. Like it
I can't compare this to anything.
Yeah. We really need to do a flight of the ryes that you have and the ryes that I have, just to get some experience with ryes.
Yeah. That's we are pretty unexperienced with just actual straight ryes, but man, there's just so much going on there.
There is.
Again, great mouthfeel, but the finish does kind of die off pretty quick.
It definitely, you notice the proof, 107 proof helps. It gives it a bit of a kick, but it's not overpowering. The midpoint of the taste is the best because the flavors build. You get hit with lots of caramel, lots of cinnamon, lots of spice, baking spice, maybe even a little bit of a tobacco kind of note. And then the only weakness is a pretty aggressive retreat for the finish.
That last sip I took had an awesome finish. So maybe the further you get into it.
Could be. Well, you're just getting used to it.
Yeah, that could be too. But now, that last sip was a really full-bodied, long finish. I would say for sure. I mean, this is a whiskey collector's whiskey right here, I think. As far as just trying something, if you're a person who likes to, especially if you like rye and bourbon and corn whiskeys and light whiskeys, I mean, you got a lot going on right here. This is definitely...
Sounds like you.
Yeah.
You have a pretty good collection of these.
Yeah. And if you really like to explore unique flavors and different things, absolutely. If you get a chance to get a bottle of this, for sure, pick one up.
I think it really hits the I was gonna say the unique notes, but just the standard notes. It's a bourbon. Like it drinks like a bourbon, but it is really, really unique at the same time.
I don't know if I think it drinks quite like a bourbon.
Meaning it hits high points. It's got the caramel. It's got the vanilla.
Oh yeah, for sure. It definitely has those standard notes, but the way it's almost like we kind of said before. Every flavor in it has a chance to represent itself.
Yeah.
For a minute there, and then it kind of that last sip that I took that had the nice finish to it, all kind of blended together and just.
I feel like it's really well balanced. There's lots of different flavors and things happening, and they take their time. And the only thing that is a bit lacking, and it's criticizing, it's being very, judgmental to say that the finish is not great. It's still awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So yeah.
Do they put an E in this thing? I'm curious. They do put an E in this thing. Iowa. Can't even spell.
Oh, right, because don't they usually...
Yeah. Well, it's the United
But it's
States,
an American whiskey, so...
But Maker's Mark doesn't do it, and...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Still no definitive
Iowa
answer on that either. But yeah, this is definitely one to explore for sure, because I kind of feel like this one too, you break this out 2 nights from now, I think you're still going to get a kind of a unique experience, even aside from this first pour of it.
So where's this from? Is this like a Des Moines thing? I'm curious.
No, it's not Des Moines. I can't remember where.
Bettendorf.
That's where Cat's Eye is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's almost a field trip. We should start planning.
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning of this, these guys are doing a lot of really cool stuff, and I haven't explored their products as much as I want to.
I would agree.
I really want to get a hold of that port wine finished light whiskey, and I know where I can get it. And I think that this is probably one of those unique things where as Minnesotans,
regional.
We're lucky.
Yeah.
That we can go to...
Forget you, California.
Yeah, exactly. We can go to multiple stores, and this isn't everywhere, but I have kind of noted where I can find it.
That one is in my favorite store.
Yeah.
Which is one town over.
Yep. So, if you live in Minnesota and you see these on the shelf, definitely, explore this brand, because I want to get a hold of their bourbon, because I think their bourbon is it's north of 100 proof, so it's not just a base, base proof bourbon. And then just some of those, the finished light whiskey and stuff like that, I really want to get into. So yeah, for sure, check out these Cat's Eye Distillery products. They're really interesting, and I hope they keep doing awesome stuff like this. So, but this has been Nassif Family Reserve American Whiskey on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Cheers.